Welcome to the Classroom Hip Hop 101 with yours truly, Dr. Blizzy. This is an exciting episode. We'll be speaking to Roxie from 93.5 FM, and we'll be speaking to two dynamic educators, Alexa and Ebony from Black Edfluencers-United. BU, they'll be talking about their new podcast, Black Ed Talks. Teaching reading uniquely. To reverse underperformance, True School is here. Now let's be clear, our impact will be enormous. To the teachers across this nation, in eager anticipation, a sound from the streets that's so unique, it'll transform education.
True, yeah. Yeah, like true, yeah. Prepare yourself for more than just a hip-hop trend. Here to criticize and analyze through hip-hop lens. Prisons claiming our sons, use our daughters for fun. Pen is stronger than sports, so these books are stronger than guns. Breaking the pipeline, making their light shine. No more believing in all of these white lies. Dr. Shango Blake speaks, better tune to the station. This podcast will outlast all of your tribulations. This principle got principles, that's why y'all hating. Dr. Blizzy's vibrations felt across the nation. Recruiting the youth, only teaching the truth. Cause the future is bright and our kids are the proof. So if you born to be you, then march to these drums. Welcome to the classroom, Hip Hop 101. Dr. Blake speaks, the lesson is begun. Welcome to the classroom, Hip Hop 101.
Watch this.
We are striving to forge our union with purpose.
No one really gets to say at 22, I am the inaugural poet.
We've learned that quiet isn't always peace, and the norms and notions of what just is isn't always just is.
On the Wednesday in which we saw the insurrection at the Capitol, that was the day that the poem really came to life, and I really put pedal to the metal.
We've seen a force that would shatter our nation rather than share it, would destroy our country if it meant delaying democracy. And this effort very nearly succeeded. But while democracy can be periodically delayed, it can never be permanently defeated.
I wanted it to be a message of hope and unity. And I think that Wednesday for me really just underscored how much that was needed, but to not turn a blind eye to the cracks that really need to be filled.
But one thing is certain. If we merge mercy with might and might with right, then love becomes our legacy and change our children's birthright.
Poetry is a weapon. It is an instrument of social change. And poetry is one of the most political arts out there because it demands that you rupture and destabilize the language in which you're working with. Inherently, you are pushing against the status quo. And so for me, it's always existed in that tradition of truth-telling.
For there is always light if only we're brave enough to see it, if only we're brave enough to be it.
I'm sitting here with Cassandra Jackson. Cassandra, we just finished viewing a phenomenal poem by a young poet. What did you think about what she had to say at the inauguration?
I think it was a powerful statement. I think what we see now is a transition of all the things that we've been talking about as far as how we empower young people, helping them find their voice. And this is what you see. This is an extension of what hip-hop is really about. And we also see the what happens when you cultivate skills and gifts of our young people.
I was amazed by her name was Gorman, right?
Amanda Gorman.
Amanda Gorman. Phenomenal young lady. You know what I thought? When I was watching that poem, I was saying to myself, now I understand the anxiety and fear of those people who stormed the Capitol.
Absolutely.
And let me tell you what I mean by this. we're witnessing the excellence, the intelligence, the genius of our young people. And they're coming of age, and black people are coming to our own. We're uniting, we're organizing, and we're speaking truth to power. And they're looking, and they're seeing their world crumble. There's a social disintegration that's happening in white America.
They see their privilege at risk.
Yeah, exactly. Not all of white America, but many population segments of this country. And they're looking for somebody to blame. So instead of dealing with the poverty, and what they need to do to rebuild their communities, you had a guy like Trump who blamed it on the Mexicans. They're taking your jobs. Blame it on Antifa. Black people are come from countries that are S-hole countries, and all of these different things that they've said. And these people have drunk the Kool-Aid.
Yes, but they didn't need much of a reason, because they were already indoctrinated with that information. They were looking for someone to tell them it is okay to feel this way and go right on ahead and act accordingly. And he did that. That's why they were, you had those clergy and televangelists who were calling him the Messiah or the next messenger, because he was sending that message, but that message was of hate. And it was feeding the demons of those who benefit from a centuries of dehumanizing and savage behavior upon another group of people. It's easy to make us, black people or minorities the scapegoat when you're sitting in privilege and you think it's about to be lost.
Privilege rooted in white supremacy.
Absolutely,
and absolutely. It's so important to make that distinction. When I look at Donald Trump, and I look at what he's done, I think about the show Frankenstein's Monster, right? And most people confuse the monster for Frankenstein.
Right. Frankenstein was the doctor who created the monster.
Who created the monster, and then the monster turned
on the creator.
On the creator.
Right.
And what you saw at the Capitol, people like Pence and McConnell and all these individuals who sat there and were complicit in his behavior. In his behavior. They created the monster called Trump, who created the monster called that mob.
Absolutely.
Right? And in actuality, that monster then turned on the Frankensteins, plural, that created them. But this is really indicative of America, because like you said, we have dealt with centuries of one group being taught that they're nothing, while another group feels that they're supreme and they act out of entitlement. Many people are saying, if that was black people, the White House, I think even I would guess it, the White House would have been red.
And no question at that. That's no question. And I think, again, when you look at the big scheme of things, even now you have these, while they're being held accountable, they're starting to now turn on Trump, because they're looking for him to save them, to pardon them. He could care less about them. Him doing what he was doing was just causing a distraction, because he didn't want his reign to end. Because in his mind, he was going to become what, back in the days Andrew Jackson was. You know what I mean? That king that would do whatever he wanted to do, or that person that wanted to do whatever it is by any means necessary that fit his agenda. And those people, even, when you look at the parallel between Trump and Andrew Jackson, you see that Andrew Jackson was called the common man's president. And with that being said, that meant that those people, similar to what we saw who stormed in a mob at the Capitol, doing the same thing. Those people were disenfranchised and not heard because they didn't have the money, they didn't have the resources. So it was easy to blame someone else, the natives, the enslaved blacks. It was easy to blame those people for what they did not have. And it was the same thing with Trump. It was easy for him to blame, the Mexicans and saying that they needed the war. It was easy to blame, those that are coming from the Muslim nations because they didn't fit the profile. It was easy to blame blacks when we were out there protesting about the injustices and inequity that existed, because he was saying that we were challenging the status quo. What we were challenging was the inhumane behavior that is acted and pressed upon us. And so they fed into that, and he fed into that. And what you had was that coup d'etat. You know what I mean? It was an insurrection. You can call it an insurrection and glamorize it all you want to, because if we're not paying attention, that's what the media will do. But it really was a coup d'etat to overthrow the government, to make him president for life or a dictator, because that's what he was going to. But that's the makeup of his mindset. He had no intentions of doing anything else but just self-preservation.
Well, this is a classic example where keeping it white supremacy has gone wrong.
Absolutely.
You know, Dave Chappelle
Keep
said,
it
keep it
real
real goes wrong. This is an
Exactly.
example of keeping it white supremacy going wrong, but we want to shout out Amanda Gorman.
Right.
Because let me just say this about Amanda. Amanda exemplified what our former First Lady Michelle Obama said, that when they go low,
we go
high. She exemplified excellence, intelligence, and integrity. And it's simply an example of putting a clean glass next to a dirty glass. There was a dirty example, but there was a clean response.
Absolutely. And that's Black Girl Magic. And this is the year of the sister that she has brought us into. And I think that what we saw in the summer with those protests and our young people showing up and showing out for a purpose, I think it will continue, and that accountability will be held. And our young people will continue to move forward and to ensure that they're leaping off the shoulders of our ancestors instead of just sitting there waiting for somebody to do something for them.
Well, thank you. We'll be right back after this commercial break. Hi, I'm Dr. Blake, CEO of True SK Consultants. True SK Consultants, the True stands for Teaching, Reading Uniquely to Reverse Underperformance, and the SK stands for School. So we're not old school, we're not new school, but we're true school. We are an innovative company focused on whole school reform. And today I'd like to introduce you to my corporate partners who focus on parent and student engagement.
Hi, I'm Savannah Banana. I'm an entrepreneur. I am 8 years old. I am a fashion designer, and I am in second grade. The company I own is Savannah Banana Clothing. I am partnered up with True SK Consultants to show kids how cool it is to be a business owner.
Hi, I'm Brazil Dow, and I'm an entrepreneur. Hi, I'm Princess Dow, and I'm an entrepreneur.
We are the Dow twins. We are 8 years old and in second grade. We act, we model, we have a store online, we write children's books, and we co-develop a learning app that helps kids with spelling words and sight words.
But what we are most known for is our kid-friendly brand of water called Water to Kids that we created to get kids healthy with hydration.
We partnered with True SK Consultants to teach kids the importance of healthy habits
and how to become entrepreneurs.
Hi, I'm Chloe Pope, and I'm an entrepreneur.
I am 10 years old and in the 4th grade. I am the CEO and owner of Chloe D Speaks. I am a celebrity kid blogger, and I am also a proud partner of True SK Consultants, and I'm here to teach young kids like me how to start their own businesses.
Now I'd like to introduce you to the parents of my partners.
Hi, I'm Melina Dow. I'm the mommy of the Dow twins. Myself and my young entrepreneurs have partnered with True SK Consultants and Dr. Blake to share all of the information that we've learned on our journey. We want to help parents and their children learn new methods of teaching kids healthy habits and entrepreneurship.
Hello everyone, my name is Sandra Jordanay, and I'm the mother of Chloe D. She is the CEO of Chloe D Speaks, and we're both partners of True SK Consultants. This venture is very important to me because Chloe, when she started reading, she wasn't interested in reading or writing, and I found a way to have her improve her reading and writing skills through blogging. And through the blogging, we've created the company Chloe D Speaks. And I think that the model that I use to help Chloe become a better writer, a better reader, and a better interviewer was through the blogging aspect. And so I'm happy to be with True SK Consultants to help teach parents how to get their children involved in improving whatever skills they need to improve along with entrepreneurship.
Hi, my name is Jessica Smith. I'm the proud mother of Savannah Banana. I have partnered with True SK Consultants to show parents how cool it would be to teach their children how to own and operate their very own business. My intentions are to show parents the step-by-step process on how to begin a business for their child.
Welcome back to the Classroom Hip Hop 101 with your host, Dr. Blizzy. It gives me great honor to introduce two dynamic young educators, Ebony Woods and Alexa Achillie. Pleasure to have you on the show. I want to thank you guys for coming on. We're here to talk about a very important movement going on in New York City called Black Edfluencers-United, which I am the president. Okay. But I really get to enjoy being the president because I meet such talented individuals like yourself. And so I want to just start off with just getting some background about who you are and what you do in the educational space. So Alexa, let's start with you.
All right, so what's up, everybody? As mentioned, my name is Alexa Achillie. I'm currently a special educator at the Facing History School. Shout out FHS. I've been working in the education field for 4 years now, but that's not all I do. So I'm a creative, I'm a writer, I'm an organizer, activist.
And you have a little theater background, correct?
I do. Shout out to DSOA out in Florida. That's where I'm originally from. And I have my own organization. I'm the founder of the Black Educators Collaborative, aka the Collabo, where we bring all the young Black educators together. It's really just a family, a support system is what that's turning out to be. So
it's great. We see that collective as part of our strategic partners and part of the BU family. We interact and connect with each other. Ebony, you're an author.
Yes.
Also, you work with young people in educational space. You have a book out called Ebony...
A Vision in Ebony.
Vision in Ebony.
Mm-hmm. So it's like light into darkness. Light out of darkness. And I started writing it without even knowing that I was writing this collection. It's a poetry book that follows my life from age 13 until about 24, 25.
Okay.
And it just talks about all the things that I went through from when I was in darkness without God and just searching through life. And then by the ending of the poetry book is my journey when I did find God and when I was in church and how my life transcended from then.
Now, do you share some of your writings with your students?
I do. I do, but a lot of it is for them grown folks.
Okay.
Right?
Some of the people that's still kind of searching and trying to figure certain things out.
Yes. So when I usually share it with the students who come to my organization when they're in high school, because each part of the book is a different time period. So I share the earlier portion of the book with them, and as we go on and they get older, then I allude them to the middle part and then the ending part.
Nice.
And then they know me. So they know me from where I am right now, and then they get to know from where I came from into how I am right now, so that they have hope, right? Because we all need someone to look back at it like, okay, that didn't stop her. That didn't hurt her. She kept going no matter what happened.
So both of you are very passionate about our children.
Yes.
Right? What they need. When I say our children, let's be real clear. We're talking about Black children, right?
Oh, of
course. What I'll start with you, Alexa. What made you want to get involved with becoming a teacher in the New York City Department of Education, and how's the journey been?
Well, honestly, when I first came to New York City, becoming a teacher wasn't at the forefront of my mind at all. I wanted to be a publicist, I wanted to be out there in the entertainment world, doing all those things. And then I stumbled upon the New York City Teaching Fellows. Okay. And so through my college experience, I've always been interested in advocating for others, using my voice to organize, push the limits, really. And so once I fell into the New York City Teaching Fellows, I realized, wow, my entire background, I got my public relations background, I got a master's in international communications from St. John's. And so taking all of those experiences, I was like, whoa, I can lead that into the classroom as well. So it was I can say that getting my master's in education and, doing the New York City Teaching Fellows program was one of the hardest things I've ever done. Wow. I feel like I've learned the most in that program about myself, about what education is, truly is. I came in thinking it was one thing and left understanding that education is something totally different. And so being a teacher now, it's amazing because I can put every single aspect of myself. It's like a place where I can honestly say I'm 100% myself. And in many jobs and many fields, you can't really do that. You kind of have to code. Well, I mean, in some schools you probably got a code switch, but I came in what's up? I'm here.
That's great.
We here. And this is my aim, this is my mission, and this is what I plan to do. So,
and it's unfortunate because there are still situations where code switching happens and people don't feel that they can be their authentic self, or they feel like they have to tone it down in terms of the cultural aspects of who we are because they're appeasing what I would call a white supremacist mindset, and the systemic racism that exists in the school. Right. And Ebony, I know you talk a lot about, disproportionality and what our children are not getting and what they need to receive. Why are you so passionate about that?
Like Alexa, when I first began wanting to be someone, it was never a teacher, but I've always played school.
Okay,
and, right?
Me too.
Writing on the back of the wood doors with the chalk. Yes.
Animals
exactly. Had my cousins doing homework because I'm the oldest, and I'm just like, oh my God.
We're going to do some evaluations
of
y'all later.
Me too. Later on. And I went through wanting to be a lawyer. I went through wanting to be a minister. I went through all these things. But I got my BA in religion because I wanted to truly understand people, right? And how they think, how they believe, and what leads them. Then I went on and got my master's in education. And then I started working for a charter school.
Okay.
Right?
How was that?
Okay.
It allowed me.
All right.
In all honesty, I'm grateful that I had my start in a charter school because it lit a fire in me and it gave me the tools that I needed to make a difference in my community. Because I saw how white colleagues came into my neighborhood and thought they were going to save my children. Wasn't going to happen.
That's a great segue to the next question I want to ask. So Black Edfluencers-United has a specific vision. Serve Black educators, influence others, impact Black children. And I think for me, it's a movement that's for us, by us, right? What attracted you to we say be you for short. What attracted you to be you?
Well, I'll start. So since the pandemic hit, right, we had the pandemic hit and, we get into remote learning and all that kind of things. And I already had an inkling of wanting to get educators together anyways, because I was like, sometimes when you're just stuck with your own school, you don't know what others are doing that might help you be successful. All right, and so that was on my mind. Then we had Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, George Floyd happen, compounded with the pandemic. And, I was out there protesting. I, too, am a poet, spoken word artist out there, speaking to the masses. And that got my gears going with the Black Educators Collaborative. And so then Courtney, shout out Courtney.
Yes.
She actually approached me and she was like, hey, I know you're a mover and shaker. There's this organization filled with Black educators. And the one thing that really attracted me to BU was that it was intergenerational. Yeah. I feel oftentimes that I start the Black Educators Collaborative, but if there is somebody who has already created this wheel, why am I going to continue to create the wheel? Right. Now it's my turn to drive the car. If y'all have the wheels, let me do the engine, right? So that's what really attracted me to the organization was that there are seasoned educators, doctors, people who's been in the educational field for as long as I've been alive. And, getting that kind of wisdom is invaluable. So that's what really attracted me is that I can learn from people who have done this already. I feel like, okay, I'm not alone. This is not the first time that somebody is going through this. And then the support. It's like, all right, so you young, you the ones that are out there now.
Yeah.
We're here to support you. And so that feels really good to know that if I need support or if I need to learn something, I have people that I can go to. And that's what BU is.
Yeah. You know, I got to say, you know, I just had an aha moment when Alexa said, as long as I've been alive. But anyway, we're going to continue. So Ebony, what about you? What made you want to join BU?
To be honest, Courtney has been pushing me for BU from before the pandemic hit, when you had the summons. And she was like, this is going to be great for you. You need to come. Mm-hmm. But I never had the time, right? And everything I do is in Queens. Mm-hmm. So when it came back around with everything that was happening, and I saw people not being accountable or held accountable for standing in front of Black children and saying they don't know what to say, or we're just going to move on with the lesson, and then everyone in BU looks like me, talks like me, is me, and authentically I can be me without walking into a room and like, oh, I got to turn this on because I might hurt their feelings. No. So I knew that was the place for me because it just resonated and it spoke to my mission and my vision of life.
Wow. Well, you guys are getting ready to do something I think is going to be revolutionary, and as Courtney would say, evolutionary.
Yes.
That you guys are taking on a big piece of what we're hoping to do to educate the educators, to raise awareness about the Black plight, struggle, but also the value of what Black educators bring to the table. So I want everybody out there to be on the lookout for a brand new podcast, or I would say online TV program, to be honest with you, called Black Ed Talks. We're not talking TED Talks. No. We're talking Black Ed Talks. We're going to hear from the Black educators. Tell us a little bit about that and what you hope to accomplish with this podcast.
Well, with the Black Ed Talks, it came about funny because I was doing my own thing and then she was doing her own thing, and I'm like, no, I was doing the children aspect and she was doing the educators aspect. So I'm like, let's bridge it all together, because when it comes to education, it has to deal with the children, the educator, and the parent. So if we can get everyone on board and talk about what's really happening in the classroom, what's really going on in their lives, and how they are really just responding to people, we'll better educate students.
Yeah, and I also want to add on to that. Not only does the education or like the educational scope consist of the educator, the student, and the parent, but it's also the major stakeholders in the community. Yes. So that goes from like government officials, that goes for community advocates, that goes for, I mean, even the local businesses around. It's like the school really can be, well, ideally should be the center of the community. And so if we're able to get people together who might not actually ever have conversations together, then I think it can be a really beautiful way to like continue to push forward this notion of taking care of us. That's so right. If, you know, I never talk to the parent, who never talks to the student, who never talks to the council member, who never talks to the activist, how are we really going to create sustainability within our community if none of us are speaking? Or none of us are on the same page.
Yeah. And there's no accountability, right? Because we can all go out and vote, but if we're not holding those people who we put into place accountable.
Don't get me started. Listen, we can go into a whole other segment on that one. I want to say to you that, you know, I want to say really sincerely that as president of BU, I am so honored to have you guys take on this responsibility of Black Ed Talks. I will be subscribing, listening, telling others to listen, because I think that you guys have a unique voice and you're in a unique space. You know, you talk about the young educators. We often talk as the seasoned educators. We often talk about that's right. We talk about that, but we really understand that in order for us to grow as a community, there has to be some kind of passing of the baton. There has to be some kind of intergenerational conversation. And so we're really interested on your take, your lens, your perspective, and how you see what's happening. And I think if you take the ones who've been here and we put it in one big pot and we add that seasoning, we're going to have a perfect stew. So
that can nourish the community.
Exactly.
That's the whole point. We're going to nourish the minds, nourish the minds and the soul of the community.
And restore.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
A lot of rebuilding, a lot of restoring.
Well, listen, thank you again. And we will be back after this commercial break.
Bringing modern technology to schools across the country. Bridging the gaps between the administration, students, and their parents. Creating a secure and enriched educational environment for both students and administration. We are WorldCast Live. WorldCast Live's groundbreaking technology was founded under these 5 principles: communication, parent engagement, instruction, fundraising, and security. Communication. Close the communication gap within their institution. For example, principals can speak directly to parents live, sharing beginning of the year message, or remind parent of important upcoming events. Parent engagement. Help schools increase parent and community engagement. For example, parents can log into PTA meeting from home or on the go with full interactive engagement. Instructions. Provides a platform to showcase school projects and curriculum to parents who cannot make it to school event. In addition, WCL can be used as an instructional tool to teach student filmmaking and broadcasting process, thus learning a skill that will make them career and college ready. Fundraising provides a way to generate revenue for schools and organizations to fund school project, sports teams, clubs, and activities. Security. Your privacy is our #1 priority. Creating a digital space where our children and education providers are protected is at the very core of our platform. Cloud education is the future, and WorldCast Live aims to integrate technology in all facets of the school curriculum. Be a part of the leap forward that will revolutionize online education.
Hey, we have another segment with our man, DJ Cool KG on the 1s and 2s. Check this out.
This is Dr. Shungo Blake, hip-hop principal, Dr. Blizzy, hip-hop principal, a.k.a. hip-hop principal, a.k.a. hip-hop principal, Dr. Blizzy, hip-hop principal, Dr. Blizzy, hip-hop principal, Dr. Blizzy. You are now rocking with DJ Cool KG. This is Dr. Shungo Blake, hip-hop principal, hip-hop principal, hip-hop principal, Dr. Blizzy, hip-hop principal, Dr. Blizzy, hip-hop principal. This is Dr. Shungo Blake, Dr. Blizzy, Dr. Blizzy, hip-hop principal, hip-hop principal, hip-hop principal, a.k.a. hip-hop principal, a.k.a. principal, a.k.a. Dr. Blizzy, Dr. Blizzy, Dr. Blizzy, Dr. Blizzy, Dr. Blizzy, hip-hop principal, hip-hop principal, a.k.a. Dr. Blizzy, Dr. Blizzy. You are now rocking with DJ Cool KG. This is Dr. Shungo Blake, the nation's hip-hop principal, a.k.a. Dr. Blizzy. You are now rocking with DJ Cool KG.
Welcome back to the Classroom Hip Hop 101 with your host, Dr. Blizzy. Man, Cool KG, I love that mix. You got me looking good out here. I'm so excited about our next guest. We have the one and only Roxie from 93.5 FM. FM. Roxie, how are you?
I am good, Dr. Blizzy.
It's so good to see
How are you?
It is so good to see you. I got so many questions to ask you. But first, let's just talk about like who you are, right?
Okay.
Radio host, college professor, Iona College. You have this non-for-profit program, Self-IC, and you're co-founder with Shawnee Culture of this other program called No Disrespect.
Yep.
You got a lot going on.
I mean, you have to these days, especially, I got to say, working in the entertainment industry, you almost have your hands in a whole lot of different things, which I'm pretty sure a lot of my industry friends can attest to. So once I got into radio, I knew that it was beyond radio, and I knew that I had to use the platform for something. Because those days of being in radio for 25 years plus are over.
So radio was your first love?
Oh, of course.
Okay.
Of course. After, getting into it and really seeing the behind the scenes, and, I was hype in the beginning, like, working for the BLS and the LIB and Radio 103.9 and all these other stations, and really finally getting to New York City and seeing what it is and seeing that it's not all glamorous. You're like, you almost have to tell yourself what else is out there. So that's why I expanded my reach into my first love, which nobody ever knew, was kind of teaching. Before I
was going to ask you which came first, the radio or the...
funny enough, nobody knows this. I mean, they do, because I've told this story a lot of times before. Before radio, it was teaching. I was a Spanish major at St. John's University in Queens. Shout out to Jamaica campus. Exactly. And I was a freshman. It was 2001, so we all know what happened in 2001. The towers were hit. And I was a Spanish major. I wanted to go into high school teaching Spanish. And I changed my major a week after 9/11 happened. And I changed it to radio and television, and I never looked back.
Was there something about 9/11 and that decision?
Kind of. I was 19 years old, walking around campus. And campus was shutting down, and everybody was just crying. People knew people in the tower, and I was like, wow, look how young I was. I was telling myself, look how short life is. We would have never thought 2 planes would hit the towers. Like, if I'm here and I'm going to spend the next 4 years of my life at this university, I better make it worthwhile. So I said to myself at that young age, I want to do something that I love, and that might upset some people, like my parents who were paying my tuition, but I didn't care, and I was like, I want to try my hand at radio. Wow. I want to be a little Wendy Williams, because that's what I was thinking at the time.
Was she one of your role models at the time?
No, I wouldn't say role model. I like how she is, and I like how she expresses herself, and I like how she's unapologetic. So that's what I liked, and I liked that in radio, you didn't necessarily have to show your face. It was all about your voice and what you had to say. And I had a lot to say. So I changed my major and never looked back. I did internships. I was at BET. I was at Clear Channel radio sales. I did everything to get up to this point.
So you started with radio, and did you eventually evolve into film and television? Because I hear you mentioned BET, or you were doing work on those kind of things?
I was an intern at first at BET in 2005, and I was interning with BET Radio. And that turned into a freelance job situation. And I freelanced with them for 2 years, from 2006 to 2008. And I got to meet a whole bunch of amazing people. And that turned into a networking thing. So I networked my way into different situations. So it's almost like I networked my way into radio, meeting people, shaking people's hands, and telling them what I like to do. And what was great about doing that, shaking hands and networking, people heard my voice. So whenever I spoke to somebody, they'd be like, wow, you should do voiceovers. You should. And I was like, you know what? My end goal is to be on the radio. So if I have to do it through doing voiceovers, which is what I did at BET for 2 years, then I'm going to do it, because that's how you expose yourself and, brand yourself. So I started doing that. I never really let the voiceovers go. I started doing it for little and big companies. And I did a quick internship somewhere else that turned into me being a receptionist, that turned into me being an overnight radio personality. And it kept going from there. So I started my career at a rock station in Long Island at 102.3 BAB, and I was there with Cox Media Group, Long Island, for 9 years.
Wow. So how did you make this? So education is the first love. It's the first intention, and you
I never let it
never
go.
left it. You kind of stayed in that and kind of came back full circle. How did you start to bridge and kind of tap back into the educational aspect of your life?
It goes back into using my platform. So I said while I was in radio, I always said to myself, which is important for anybody watching this who wants to get into the radio field, don't ever make a radio station or a brand think that you need them. They really need you. So wherever I was like, sure, I'm, Beautiful Stranger or Roxie or Barbara at this station, but ultimately you'll need me and you'll see why. So it was kind of like showing people my talent and showing them why I need her. She's like a good fit for this station. So while I was doing that and proving myself throughout all of these radio companies, I said, well, it's still bigger than this, so what do you want to do? Those conversations with yourself are really important. So I was like, ultimately, I want to own radio stations, which I'm working on now, but I kind of do want to go back to teaching in a way, but in my own way. I didn't want to be the teacher in front of the classroom giving lectures. I wanted to do it my way. So I said, how can we do this? So years later, once I finished doing my 9-year bid, is what I call it, and paying my dues out in Long Island at that rock station and that top 40 station, I finally came to New York City. I worked for BLS. And while I was working at BLS, I was doing overnights at WLIB, the gospel station.
WLIB.
And at WBLS, just working the boards. And I made friends with an interesting young Caribbean cat named Shawnee Culture, who is now my business partner. And we used to talk every night because he did the overnights at Hot 97. I did the overnights at BLS and LIB. And we would just talk about everything, like what's going on in society, what's going on. And unfortunately, that year, Trayvon Martin was killed, shot and killed in Florida. So we started talking about that really heavy. And we talked about what that means for our community. We talked about what that means for our kids, especially our Black and brown men. So he was like, how do we get to these young Black and brown men? How do we talk to them about the fact that they got to respect themselves and respect others so that this doesn't continue happening, or show people that we need to be respected so that we're not being targeted when we're wearing a hoodie, when we're, holding a can of Arizona iced tea. So we were like, we should go into these classrooms and talk about just that. What we're talking about right now, we can't just talk about to each other. We got to talk about it to an audience. So I was like, I know a bunch of principals and a bunch of guidance counselors and a bunch of school teachers.
So your education piece.
Yeah, so I didn't become a teacher, but I knew a lot of teachers. So I was like, I'm going to use that as the moving forward piece to this. I'm going to reach out to all of them from the Bronx, Brooklyn, Harlem, everywhere. And I was like, they're going to let us in. We're going to pitch that. We're both radio personalities and radio personnel in New York City. We have a message to bring. We've got to call this something, though. We can't just go in and be like, hey, we're from Hot, we're from BLS, let us talk. So we were like, let's make up an organization. And we kept talking. As we kept talking, for some reason within our conversation, we kept saying the phrase, no disrespect. And we were like, that's it. Hashtag it, because hashtagging was popular then. So let's hashtag no disrespect campaign. And that's where we came up with it. So doing our overnights from 12 midnight to 6 o'clock in the morning, that's how No Disrespect came up and came together. And God bless his soul, off of the name of Trayvon Martin. Because this was all
it's interesting.
Motivated off of him.
I see a thread here with you that some of the things that have prompted you have been also kind of like world events.
Yep.
Right? There's like a common thread, right? There's 2001, the World Trade Center.
Right. Something always triggers me.
Something triggers. Now, the conversations that are rooted out of, unfortunately, the Trayvon Martin situation. But you seem to have this in full disclosure, I've seen Roxie's work. I've been able to participate in something called the ERC conference, and I saw your work there. And you can tell that there's a passion that you bring to the work. Shawnee Culture as well. Where does that come from?
You know what? Everybody goes through stuff in life, right? Everyone. You go through loss. You go through, you think you have something, and then it goes right in between your fingers. So I kind of am really good at turning my pain into power. So everything that is, and I really believe every challenge is a blessing. So every time I go through something, I'm like, you know what, I could be going through this, but right after it, something good is going to happen. So go ahead and go through this pain. Go ahead and go and cry. Go ahead and go be mad. But that means I'm just that much closer to what I'm supposed to get. And here's an example. I was not going to do radio because I was sick of waiting on who's going to put me on air. I'm tired. I'm auditioning all over the place. I was at BLS for 5 years. They hadn't put me on air. I was just producing and doing people's shows and pressing buttons. And I was tired. I was like, I'm going to leave, go to another market, go to California, go to Texas, and try my hand there and my voice there, and then come back. When I made that decision and said I was going to move and try radio somewhere else, a new station called Radio 103.9 came, and they hired me 2 weeks later. So that was me like going through that pain and that challenge of being like, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm giving up. And that moment I was about to give up, it pulled me back in and was like, no.
Let me tell you something. I believe that pain is purposeful. I agree with you wholeheartedly. And I think there's a message in that, because I think that the part about giving up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I don't want to really go dark, but there are a lot of people struggling with life decisions and they're thinking about giving up. And one of the things I always talk to students about who are in that place and space is that the thing you were looking for might happen right after the day you gave up. And this is, and so, you know, we don't know. I mean, I don't want to get super spiritual, but we don't know why we go through things. But if we have the right mindset and the faith, it can be something that produces something greater than we ever thought of, you know? I was talking to you earlier, and you were talking about, I really want to dig into this program that you founded, this organization, Self-IC, and you were talking about it's rooted in self-esteem. I thought as an educator, you know, wow, that's what we need. We need to see ourselves in the curriculum. You know, we need to see ourselves, you know, as heroes and heroines in stories. You know, is that kind of like the basis behind Self-IC? And what has been the results? Like, tell me about, you know, the good news that happens as a young person participates in your program.
You know what's interesting? You know, going back to you saying it looks like a lot of worldly events triggers you, that the creation of that organization was triggered off of the passing of my dad.
Oh, wow.
So I applied to my doctorate program that I'm in right now.
God bless you.
Thank you. Weeks before my dad passed. When he passed, a month later, I found out I got into the program. And my program, I attend St. John's University again, and I'm in the School of Education in Instructional Leadership and Curriculum Design. So what I want to do is create curriculum for ELA students. ELA is English Language Learning Students, because I was an ELA student. I was, you know, English second language, kind of. Not really. I was born here, but my parents in the home spoke a different language, so I was always dual language in the house.
And a lot of students, are faced with that situation.
Exactly.
And the educational system doesn't really provide support around that, or even connect with them around that. And it's I think,
you're right.
Criminal almost.
You're 100%, because that was proven when Shawnee and I would go into these schools for the No Disrespect program, and a lot of the Haitian young girls, because I am Haitian, would come up to me and start speaking to me in Creole, and I was like, oh, what's wrong? And I spoke to them back, and they're like, oh, thank God you're just like us. Nobody ever understands us, and we always sit in the corner because nobody understands us through our accents, or we don't know who to speak this language to. So I started getting disappointed because I was like, well, it's not helping you excel that nobody understands you, and you're in the middle of Brooklyn. This is like little Haiti. So like, how dare you not have the resources for people not to understand you and what's going on in, you know, the year 2019, 2020, that you're not being helped. So I was like, I got it. This has to be my niche, because not only is it a representation of me and who I was as a young girl, growing up, but like it's like me giving back and entering that education space in the way that I wanted to. Because remember, I told you I didn't want to get into the classroom teaching, because that's not what I wanted to do. I didn't want to be the teacher that sits in lectures. I wanted to be the person that created something, a safe space for people to learn the way that they wanted to learn. So I wanted that culturally responsive, education space. I wanted that space that catered to the young girl that was like me, trapped in like herself, saying, but I want you to understand me. I want you to understand me through my accent. I want you to understand me through, even though I speak another language at home.
So what have been the results?
I think language is a beautiful thing. I think accents are a beautiful thing. And what I want to eliminate in the education system is children thinking that speaking through accents is an embarrassing thing. It is not. It's actually what makes this country so beautiful. So creating something where they can learn the way that they would learn in their country, or, kind of like establish a way, or kind of bring in similar teaching patterns that they would learn on their island in the classroom here, and teaching those people that are supposed to teach you how to do that. Because, sometimes you're walking in these classrooms and it's not the face that you see that would be teaching you, that would even understand where you're coming from.
Wow.
So I'm not trying to diminish the white faces that we see in there that are teaching our young black and brown men from different cultures that they can't do it. I'm just motivating them to tell them they can do it. Let's just do it in this way. And at least keep that in mind so that these kids can succeed like the other kids who already speak English are.
So if I'm a principal or educator and I want to bring self-IC into my school to begin to deal with professional development or working with students directly, how do I get in contact with you?
Well, of course, it's all a brand new process for me because, again, I am in between both worlds of radio and education. And now that I'm getting into my program and developing this program and I'm working small. But for me, it is online now because I have to cater to what's going on during the pandemic now. But I offer like literally programs and ways in which people could use resources to give to the child to start to, understand them in the classroom. So it'll be anywhere from, I don't know, just a simple setup of this is how we're going to start. Let's talk about how you use your language and language positivity. So that will be given to the educator to implement within their curriculum in school.
And are you currently
Yes,
doing
I'm currently
this?
doing this now.
Okay.
And also creating an after-school type virtual session that kids can take part of that, can be within the curriculum or taken as extra credit. And it's a fun way to learn about not only how to use language, but get into things like entrepreneurship. We focus on confidence. We focus on using language positivity, like, sounding your best even if you sound different, or multicultural activities. So, it's a work in progress.
So how do we get in? How do we contact Roxie?
Oh, listen.
How do we get this beautiful program in these schools?
Listen, selfic@gmail.com. That's one of them. And again, that name that I came up with, it's triggered off of the word self-esteem because it's just me seeing how the girls felt about themselves when, they were in the classrooms versus when I was in the classrooms with them. So their self-esteem got better when they knew somebody like them were teaching them, so that, and just it within that whole component, they're literally, building their confidence to be what they see. So how the phrase is, be the change that you want to see. So like the person that's teaching them is teaching them that change, so they want to be like them. So it's like going in that cyclical positive.
Yeah. It's like self, I see, I see self.
Right.
Well, listen, I want to really thank you for joining us. And reach out to Roxie, selfic@gmail.com.
Or you can reach out to me on my social medias, all of it, all one word, Roxie Digital, ROXIE Digital on, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. You can find me anywhere.
So
literally.
selfic@gmail.com, Roxie Digital on all social media platforms. We'd like to thank you for coming in.
Thank you so much.
And talking to us today. And we will be back after this commercial break.
Worldcast Live focuses on the delivery of quality content. Media houses need a platform that can be customized to their liking, and we specialize in various ways of distributing your content. The WCL platform can seamlessly live stream two-way and hire at the click of a button. Streaming along with many other live functionalities are the core of our platform. The WCL platform can be placed into any website and customized to look just like our client's website. Give us a try. Email us today for a free demo.
We're constantly trying to educate, empower, and elevate. So please subscribe to our YouTube channel and like, comment, and share. That's the Classroom Hip Hop 101. And don't forget to join us on Spotify, Dr. Shango Blake Speaks.
Dr. Shango Blake Speaks, better tune to the station. This podcast will outlast all of your tribulations.
Thank you for watching. Now we leave you with our brother Wise Intelligent with the song Stuck, a lesson learned.
I can save everyone.
I really do.
Anybody
know me know.
Dedicated
my entire career
trying to move us to a better place.
Too many people stuck though.
Stuck inside that ghetto fantasy. Too many stuck inside a ghetto fantasy. And a man without a focus like drive me insane.
It's about time to regroup, breathe, taking my time to recoup, seize every rhyme I spat out, flat out, deliver the business proper, education always, counter, exploitation, culture of culture bandit, ban it, it's too black and it's too strong, but hold on, I'm wrong, maybe I'm still stuck in the 80s, but lately coppers are still shooting, inadequate public schooling, crackers are still ruling, 90% of the resource, but of course, that ain't the reason that we mourn, there is a reason to keep on, sleep on this, we're on the map, it's Trenton, makes the world taste, this is the flow that the world took, the spirit that made your girl look twice, nice, but that ain't even a question, my average session, a lesson in rhyme, listen.
Wish that I could save everyone. Open and chain, too many stuck inside a ghetto fantasy. Wish that I could save everyone. Open and chain, too many stuck inside a ghetto fantasy. Wish that I could save everyone. Open and chain, too many stuck inside a ghetto fantasy. Too many stuck inside a ghetto fantasy. And a man without a focus like drive me insane.
Life is good, but that don't apply to MCs. Too many rappers are empty. Simply put, frankly, look, knowledge, this knowledge essential to do this way. If they someday part way with the gunplay, they may restore hope. Lessness, all they manage to nurture. Black heart, cold blood, every rapper you heard of. So street, so thug, no peace, no love, because none was shown. And this is the way that they've grown. It's all they've ever known. God bless the poor, a dusty bless the child that has its own. I dedicate this to my home. Where on the map is Trenton, makes the world takes. This is the flow that the world took. The spirit that made your girl look twice, nice, but that ain't even a question. My average session, a lesson in rhyme. Listen.
Wish that I could save everyone. Open and chain, too many stuck inside a ghetto fantasy. Wish that I could save everyone. Open and chain, too many stuck inside a ghetto fantasy. Wish that I could save everyone. Open and chain, too many stuck inside a ghetto fantasy. Too many stuck inside a ghetto fantasy. And a man without a focus like drive me insane.
So if sunshine from east to west, how does it skip the projects? Ain't no sunshine, so we bling, blood bling to be seen in broad day light. Cause all they life, they've been margin, all lies, interpret the world through my eyes. Donley, Page, low income, housing, the PJs, where these days I look back on that past and type fast. I know tasks, no dads present, for none of us adolescent. Young black youth who grew to be men, not having a point of reference. My physical handed me lessons, my resurrection, ascension into God. I knowledge the world is ours. Besides, Trenton makes the world takes. This is the flow that the world took. The spirit that made your girl look twice nice, but that ain't even a question. My average session, a lesson.
Wish that I could save everyone. Open and chain, too many stuck inside a ghetto fantasy. Wish that I could save everyone. Open and chain, too many stuck inside a ghetto fantasy. Wish that I could save everyone. Open the chain, too many stuck inside a ghetto fantasy. Too many stuck inside a ghetto fantasy. And a man without a focus like you drive me insane. I wish that I could save everyone. Open the chain, too many stuck inside a ghetto fantasy. Wish that I could save everyone. Open the chain, too many stuck inside a ghetto fantasy. Wish that I could save everyone. Open the chain, too many stuck inside a ghetto fantasy. Too many stuck inside a ghetto fantasy. And a man without a focus like you drive me insane. I wish that I could save everyone. Open the chain, too many stuck inside a ghetto fantasy. Wish that I could save everyone. Open the chain, too many stuck inside a ghetto fantasy.